The best strategies for 2023 right now. The rating from players, the number of reviews, and the release date of the game are taken into account. Oxygen is a city builder with survival elements, where players will build their city around the Oxygen Center and try to build a new civilization for all the survivors around the world in a post-apocalyptic future, threatened by exploding cracks, deadly winds, droughts, and frosts. The gameplay is a mixture of strategy and survival. The first step is to overcome the detailed and extremely useful training, consisting of several basic sections about life functions. After the tutorial is completed, we start the main game. We adjust the difficulty of overcoming and select one of the 5 available location maps. The difficulty of survival is determined by one or another frequency of natural disasters, the availability of resources in the area, and so on. When we are defeated in combat, we are given a starting pack of resources and dropped into a location. We don't have a lot here, but we have enough opportunities to expand. We build housing of varying quality for our residents, buildings for the production of food and water, energy plants, and so on. Pieces of a lost civilization are scattered everywhere, sometimes very exotic in appearance. Let's break them down into resources. It is important to provide settlers not only with basic needs, food, water, and housing, but also with entertainment in the form of cafes or decor. This will allow hard workers to look more cheerfully into tomorrow. The feature of the game is ecology. We need to not only survive, but also, preferably, revive the lifeless wasteland. This is achieved by planting trees that will form mini domes with oxygen, and by switching to less polluting energy sources. Achieving this will not be easy. Each tree must be nurtured long and hard. Oxygen is an important part of the game. The more of it, the faster and more successfully we will develop. Residents will not need to carry and refill breathing cylinders from the main building. The game has a large number of types of resources and production buildings. But you shouldn't be scared. All this is clearly laid out in the population accounting system in the appropriate tabs. It is always easy to find out how much we have of what and who. We assign residents as workers to existing industries or send them to sort out rubbish rubble. Those who are not engaged in any special work are considered builders by default. At the first call, these soldiers are sent to any construction site. Cataclysms are represented by wind, which is predicted by the weather, and magma cracks, which can appear anywhere on the map, and something will need to be done about them. The wind, as it were, blows away the oxygen, and therefore the generator will need more energy to produce the required amount. There is a powerful technology development system. They will allow you to rebuild new useful buildings and effectively use existing ones. As a result, the ultimate goal of the passage is the creation of a stable and safe town where the survivors will rush. Terrascape allows gamers to realize their dream of building their own city. With a wide selection of decks offering unique buildings and expansion options, you can strategically place your cards on the board to earn points and unlock new rewards. You will need to carefully consider the impact each building will have on your city, including its impact on other buildings, natural resources, and the terrain. Collect positive influence factors to get bonus points, but beware of negative influences that can hinder your progress. As you accumulate points, you'll gain access to new decks and buildings, allowing you to specialize your city and unlock even more options. But be careful, choosing the wrong cards can set you back, so plan your strategy wisely. With procedural maps and challenging missions, Terrascape offers endless possibilities for play. Aquatico takes you to an alternative future in which the surface of the planet is no longer suitable for human life. To preserve civilization, its remnants move to the bottom of the ocean, where they are now required to build full-fledged cities with self-sufficient infrastructure. Life at such a far depth is not the easiest, and it's not only about pressure and lack of oxygen, but also about underwater inhabitants. Whales and sharks, which can swim for a long time completely peacefully, can suddenly go crazy and attack the settlement if a person goes beyond the limits. In Aquatico, users have access to a huge variety of futuristic buildings for oxygen production, industrial buildings, residential sectors, scientific centers, and much more. The player must pay great attention to exploring the surrounding space. To do this, you need to use submarines, which are available for hire in a special building. It is equally important to create reliable and efficient production chains for the most valuable resources and goods. In order to not only survive, but thrive in such a dangerous place, it is not enough to simply study and build, it is also wise to upgrade technology. New research makes it possible to significantly increase productivity, unlock new structures and mechanisms, which in turn makes life at the very bottom much easier. Total conflict. Resistance is an incredible blend of grand strategy, tactics, and first-person action that delivers incredible combat, multiple vehicle types, weapons, and armor, and unique mechanics to immerse you in immersive gameplay. You have to take part in events, manage units, create your own army, and produce or purchase armored vehicles and weapons. You will also be able to build fortifications, outposts, and settlements, manage combat operations from the first person, as well as in tactical mode. It is possible to control various cars, armored personnel carriers, helicopters, tanks, and self-propelled guns, and conduct large-scale battles for up to 200 people simultaneously on tactical maps with a large selection of weapons. Create your own power or join one of the existing factions and use your diplomatic skills to form alliances or declare war. Capture provinces to make Cambridge great again. With a first-person view, you can control your squads using a large number of command functions, give orders at different levels, one soldier, a squad, or an entire unit. If you prefer tactical mode, you can give orders from a bird's eye view to your troops on the battlefield. The game also features a detailed map of the island, divided into provinces, as well as foreign and domestic politics, economics, industry, and diplomacy. The last haven will please those who are used to extreme conditions in games. We are transported to a world after a nuclear war. You have to watch your settlement from a bird's eye view. It is necessary to take control, make decisions, master production, and organize defense. This is the last refuge. Remember that you are responsible for people. All negative factors will affect the population. The authors create rather difficult conditions. You are facing a shortage of resources. Production has been completely destroyed. The disaster wiped out all communications and the infrastructure was destroyed. It is worth noting that in such conditions you will not only have to create everything from scratch, but also try to maintain the morale of the settlers and discipline. Otherwise, riots are possible, which can develop into a civil war. It is in your power to make compromise decisions, because during the passage a variety of situations may arise. You will have the opportunity to launch raids into other regions to obtain the necessary resource. Everyone needs food, fuel, and lubricants. The temperature drops every day. Study unique technologies. Stock up on valuable resources to survive the nuclear winter. Silica is a fast-paced fusion of action and sci-fi strategy that revolves around a bitter struggle for power over Baltaris, a planet teeming with quartz crystals coveted by all factions. Players can control their armies as commanders from orbit, or dive headfirst into combat as infantry, vehicles, or various insectoid aliens. Silica allows players to choose their playstyle without being limited by specific rules. The marine roles offer a fun and fast-paced shooter where you can get behind the wheel of different types of vehicles, including a giant combined harvester, a fast and maneuverable ATV, or a powerful siege tank. In addition, it is possible to join an alien faction and switch control between creatures such as the secretive crab, the agile hunter, or the armored Goliath. For those who prefer a more strategic approach, it is possible to control troops from a distance, sending harvesters to fields of silicon crystals and constructing massive structures to produce and dispatch units. With 6 unique locations and 3 game modes, a varied and interesting experience is guaranteed. Mechabellum is an epic auto-battler set in a sci-fi setting that puts you in the shoes of a commander leading an army of mechs on the newly colonized planet far away. Your opponents will tremble in fear as you customize and level up your units, strategically place them on the battlefield, and watch them ruthlessly destroy your enemies. You'll have an arsenal of unique mechs at your disposal, from the nimble light craft of wasps to the massive Vulcans. Each unit has its own strengths and weaknesses, so learning to tweak and use them to maximize their destructive power is key. But it's not all about brute force. You'll need to anticipate your enemy's moves and choose the perfect combination of units to counter them. And when the going gets tough, launch an airstrike from the perfect spot or unleash a horde of crawlers to wreak havoc on the enemy army. Battles between massive armies of mechs are a sight to behold, with shrapnel, incendiary bombs, and huge lasers cutting through the air. And before you take on other players in PvP battles, You can hone your skills against advanced AI opponents to try out different unit combinations and abilities without facing real players. IXION is a realistic survival game in space with elements of urban planning, where the survival of all humanity depends only on the player. There is nowhere to wait for help. Now everyone will be for himself, because the Earth is no longer suitable for life. The user will have to monitor the balance of all parameters of the ship, as well as its technical condition, in order to avoid disaster. In the distant future, the Moon began to fall apart and gradually approach the Earth, and soon it will collide with the planet and destroy all life on it. Having learned this, the government began preparing an operation to save humanity, constructing huge stations capable of surfing outer space and looking for a new place suitable for oxygen levels and climatic conditions. Some people were put into cryo-sleep so that they would not age during the journey and could start a new life in another system. The main character is one of the captains of such a station, who needs to not only explore the universe, but also maintain the comfort of the colony. In total, 6 main sections will gradually open to him, where he can build buildings or useful mechanisms. Cosmically, the world of IXION is an unsafe place. Some survivors are not going to work for the common good, and succumbing to temptation and the desire to survive as long as possible can attack the player's ship and damage important mechanisms. In addition, it is necessary to avoid collisions with space debris and asteroids by deploying a huge structure long before they appear in sight. Stranded: Alien Dawn is an open-world survival simulator. In this case, Alien. In the story, a group of people on a rescue shuttle are evacuated from a burning starship and land on the first planet they come across. The player controls a team of surviving crew members of a spaceship. He needs to take care of his charges, providing them with warmth, light, food, medicine, weapons, and entertainment. The squad also needs to be protected from diseases, monsters, extreme weather conditions, and other dangerous factors. To get food, you can engage in farming or go hunting. In addition, it is necessary to monitor the psychological state of representatives of humanity and increase their level of happiness. Each squad member is a unique character with his own personality, backstory, skills, positive and negative traits. You can improve the abilities of virtual people. The game has high replayability. Each new playthrough is different from the previous one due to procedural generation. Story events are created randomly. Beyond these, there are various challenging crises. In this game, according to tradition for the genre, you can extract resources. The matter is not limited to cutting down trees and other usual activities. Space debris periodically falls from the sky to Earth, which contains many useful materials. There is an opportunity to build, decorate, and improve the base. It can be equipped with various protection systems to repel the local aggressive fauna. The player can also research technologies to expand their capabilities. Immersion in the atmosphere of Dune. Spice Wars is made in the form of a global strategy, where gamers need to manage one of the factions that are fighting for the territory of Arrakis. On a planet completely covered by desert, there are protracted battles and constant bloodshed due to political strife. The elite cannot achieve a diplomatic distribution of resources, which leads to war between states and individual segments of the population that find themselves in harsh conditions. Players in Dune: Spice Wars will compete for the primacy of their own faction, trying to recapture power from the enemy and take control of their lands. The main task is the struggle to obtain spice, an unusual element that allows people to prolong life and change the boundaries of perception. Thanks to this material, it is possible to fly between star galaxies and fully travel in the universe. Players get the opportunity to take control of House Atreides or Harkonnen. You will have to go through single missions, moving along the storyline of the story. During the gameplay, you will meet huge space worms and many other monsters living in the world. You will have to send harvesters to collect resources and valuable spice in order to discover new technologies and opportunities for the army. Users will control troops and their movement in battles that ensues between two warring houses that began the massacre on Arrakis. Age of Wonders 4 is a turn-based strategy with tactical battles that takes the player to a magical kingdom where they have to lead their empire to greatness. You will need to collect magic books to unlock new abilities and possibilities. Together with your army, you must enter into the final battle for the existence of the world. You need to create your own unique society, defining the appearance of its inhabitants, choosing their culture and magical abilities. Units can be cannibal halflings, elves, humans, or some other race. With the help of spells, you can strengthen or transform your subjects. The mechanics of Age of Wonders 4 include various ways to resolve certain conflicts. You can use brute force, act with the help of magic, or charm your teeth using diplomacy skills. The choice of tactics influences the course of the narrative and subsequent events, generating a variety of unique content. Each new session is significantly different from the previous one. Battles are presented in a turn-based system. There are fights with ordinary monsters or full-fledged sieges of castles. A wide variety of empires are represented. The army consists of many units with unique abilities. Maps include a huge selection of landscapes that directly affect the gameplay. For example, there are icy wastelands or harsh deserts. The environment must be used for tactical purposes. Dozens of random events and quests are generated on the maps. Depending on playstyle, the ruler may return in subsequent sessions as an ally or an enemy. Scandinavian strategy Northgard, delving into the ancient mythology of the Vikings who found Northgard, a city full of wealth, myths, and ancient legends. The game combines peaceful graphics and the gradual development of your settlement. However, the Vikings quickly cooled their ardor when they encountered the first danger of Northgard, the brutal cold that envelops all the shores and the heart of the island. The second danger is wild animals and limited resources in the area. And the third is the dead who have risen to defend their ancient kingdom. Upon arriving on the island, the player will have the opportunity to manage a small amount of resources. Among them are people who were not always warriors. Some can be made into forges, some can be sent to get food, and the rest of the group can be made into real ferocious warriors, ready to tear everything to shreds for Jarl and Odin. With the help of strategic opportunities, the player will be able to expand his borders, but know that warriors will have to protect them from constant raids. Your army will not be replenished so quickly, and there are many misfortunes throughout the game, especially often people will die from the cold. In addition to constant conquests, the player will have the opportunity to upgrade his units in the skill tree. For example, you can easily make resistance to Frost, the main ability, but then in the war with the skeletons the Vikings will fight fiercely, but sometimes lose. Settlement management is simple. The construction of buildings is permitted after the construction of a special municipality. The more resources, the more structures themselves, but keep in mind that many things spoil the landscape. Victoria 3 is a direct sequel to the game of the same name, where the player will have to act in the time period from 1836 to 1936. In the Manager Simulator, you are asked to select one of the available countries and manage it for a specified time. You will have to control political, demographic, economic processes, and also try to pacify sections of the population in order to build an ideal society. The player needs to act mainly in the 19th century, which became very restless and hectic in world history. Here it is important to try to reconcile the various contradictions of the people in their own state in order to create a prosperous future for it. The game features a couple of dozen countries where industry, agriculture, and other areas fall under control, which the player must choose to develop, acting radically or peacefully. Each state contains segments of the population, each of which has separate political opinions and economic problems. The player's task becomes to create a progressive society, gradually introducing reforms, updating the constitution, and trying to advocate traditional values. Along the way, it is necessary to study new technologies and introduce different ideas in order to develop the power. The game implements a complex economic system where you also need to monitor profits and taxes in order to increase the welfare of the country. It is necessary to manage the import of various raw materials, regulate the turnover of products, use cheap labor, while at the same time hiring more experienced employees. In the process, the player is faced with intrigues, where a diplomatic approach is indispensable, as well as alliances and intrigues. Any manipulations are available here to consolidate your own positions and remove all kinds of threats. As you progress, you also need to conquer additional territories, which will allow you to gain a foothold in the world. You may have noticed that the game's rating has dropped significantly, and this was influenced by the fact that fans of Victoria 3 had been waiting for the edition for more than 6 months, and in the end the free update turned out to be more than the premium DLC. It so happens that the Voice of the People add-on introduces less content into the game than the free update, according to the feelings of a significant part of buyers. Victoria 3 players are angry because the DLC costs $15. An additional reason for outrage was the bonuses for pre-ordering this DLC. The angry reaction was so overwhelming that Paradox Interactive changed its mind and decided to give the Voice of the People pre-order bonus to all DLC owners, including those who received the DLC through the Grand Edition or Season Pass. Bonuses include several agitators: Alexis de Tocqueville, George Clemenceau, and Jules Brunet. Even though the developers tried to somehow smooth out the situation, the ratings and reviews of the game clearly deteriorated. The gameplay of Total War: Warhammer 3 is a mixture of turn-based strategy and RTS. It is necessary to gather an army and move it around the global map, capturing all areas. By extracting resources and recruiting units, you will need to create settlements. You can enter into diplomacy with different factions, enter into alliances with them, or declare war. The economic part of Total War: Warhammer 3 is presented by TBS Mechanics, while battles take place in real time. Events take place in the realms of chaos. All the magic of the Warhammer fantasy universe is concentrated here. The global map in the game campaign is several times larger than the location in the Whirlwind. The developers placed the main emphasis on narrative, writing a more coherent and complex story. The mechanics of sieges are subject to change. Now the characteristics of units, type of terrain, etc. are taken into account. New levels have been added and a supply system has been introduced. They accumulate over time, allowing you to take advantage of additional advantages during an attack on an enemy castle. Based on the accumulated items, you can build barricades, traps, and defensive towers right during the battle. There are more than 10 legendary lords to choose from, each with their own unique characteristics: human dragon, demon warrior, ice queen, etc. The appearance of the lords can be changed according to your preference. Fans of the strategy Total War: Warhammer 3 were extremely dissatisfied with the new pricing policy, according to which the cost of DLC for the game has doubled. A set of 3 legendary Chaos Lords costs $25. The previous edition about the Chaos Dwarves cost the same amount, but it had much more general content. The developers were also reminded that in the DLC for Warhammer 2, sets offered 2 Lords and 32 units, and now players receive 3 Lords, but only 11 units. Due to this, the game's rating has dropped significantly, and players are expressing their dissatisfaction in the comments. Age of Empires 4 is a real-time strategy computer game. This is the 3rd sequel to the original game and the first to be developed by a new development studio that was not involved in the work on the trilogy. The announcement, which took place back in 2017, became an excellent gift for fans of the series on the anniversary of the franchise's appearance in 1997. Age of Empires 4 has modes for both single-player and multiplayer. In it, you can fight with your friends and random players, or take part in battles against artificial intelligence in co-op. The time period chosen for Age of Empires IV was the Middle Ages, with a much greater scope than in previous projects in the franchise. This important change allows us to cover a huge variety of improvements to various technologies for maximum variety of gameplay. Also, this made it possible to create a larger number of single-player scenarios for the campaign, where historical figures become the main characters and known facts about them are diluted with artistic interpretation to create epic situations and unexpected twists of fate. Each country has its own pros and cons, allowing players to use different tactics when waging war and developing the economy, infrastructure, and technology. For example, the Mongols have an advantage at the start of the game due to the presence of strong cavalry, while the British rely on calmer gameplay at the beginning to collect enough resources. Write in the comments which game you liked best.